Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into one of the most incredible chapters in the entire book of Psalms. It's so special, it's actually called a golden psalm of David. Seriously, this thing is a blueprint for finding a hope that absolutely cannot be shaken, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. So let's jump right in.
So, let me just start by asking you this. In a world where everything can feel so temporary, our health, our jobs, even relationships, what is the secret to having a hope that's truly, genuinely unshakable? Well, King David, who knew a thing or two about trouble, lays out the answer for us right here in Psalm 16.
You know what's so powerful about this psalm is that it's not some desperate cry from a guy who's looking for God. No, this is a bold, confident declaration from someone who has already found his ultimate safety and security in him. This is David's personal story of where he put his trust.
He kicks it off with this really simple, direct plea. Preserve me, O God. But look closely at the reason he gives. For in thee do I put my trust. See, that's not something he's hoping to do one day. It's something he's doing right now, in this moment. His trust is already locked in, and that one fact is the foundation for everything else he's about to say.
Okay, so starting from that place of trust, David then tells us what he considers his greatest treasure. And you got to remember, this is a king we're talking about, a man who had all the power and wealth you could imagine. So his answer? Well, it might just surprise you.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's the huge difference between what the world offers and what God offers. On one hand, you've got worldly treasures. They fade, they break, they never quite satisfy. But the inheritance David is talking about, it's eternal. It's totally secure. And get this, it's not a thing, it's a person. It's God himself.
I mean, listen to how he puts it. He says the Lord himself is his portion and his inheritance. For David, just having God was worth more than all the land, all the gold, all the power that came with being king. God wasn't just the one who gave him good things. God was the best thing. He was the treasure.
But here's what's really cool. While David's ultimate treasure is God, that vertical relationship, he also finds this incredible joy right here on earth. And where does he find it? In other people who believe, in the community of the saints, he calls them. It's just a beautiful reminder that our faith is personal, but it's not meant to be private. We find so much joy with God's people.
So that's great, right? God is our greatest treasure. But how do we actually make that a reality? How does that translate into a life that doesn't get rocked every time a storm comes? Well, David gives us an incredibly practical, simple secret to living an unshakable life.
And look, this isn't some complicated 10-point plan. It's actually a pretty straightforward path. It starts with a deliberate choice you have to make. Then that choice leads to a constant focus. And when you do those two things, it leads to a guaranteed result.
And boom, here it is. The secret in a single sentence. I have set the Lord always before me. That's the choice. That's the focus. It means you're intentionally keeping God front and center in your thoughts, in your decisions, in your whole outlook on life. And what's the guaranteed result? Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. That right there is a promise of rock-solid stability.
Okay, so we've talked trust, we've talked treasure, we've talked stability in this life. But now we're getting to the absolute climax of this psalm, because David's vision suddenly expands, and he looks beyond the grave to reveal one of the most mind-blowing prophecies in the entire Old Testament.
I mean, this is probably the biggest question humanity has ever asked, right? When it's all said and done, is that it? Is there anything else? And David, writing 1,000 years before Jesus was even born, gives us a shockingly clear answer.
Just listen to these words. Let them sink in. David is prophesying that God will not abandon the soul of his Holy One in the grave. And not only that, he won't even let his body decay. This is an insane promise that someone is coming who's going to beat death and the physical decay that always follows it.
Now, to really get how huge this is, we got to understand the words he's using. The word for hell here is the Hebrew word Sheol. It doesn't mean a place of fire and torment. It just means the grave, the realm of the dead. And corruption means exactly what it sounds like, the physical process of a body decaying. So the prophecy is crystal clear. God's Holy One will die, but the grave won't hold him, and his body won't rot.
And here's the connection, the absolute game changer. Hundreds of years later, in the book of Acts, the apostles point directly back to this verse as proof that David was talking about the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ.
This isn't just some vague hope for an afterlife, it's a specific, detailed prophecy about the single event that becomes the bedrock of all of Christianity.
And this brings everything full circle, doesn't it? That ancient prophecy isn't just a cool piece of history. It's the source of our personal, unshakable hope right here, right now. David himself ties this future resurrection directly to our ultimate and complete joy.
Think about it. Because Jesus conquered the grave, he literally forged a path through death itself, a path that David calls the path of life. Christ's victory is our guarantee that the grave is not a dead end. For every single person who trusts in him, it's just a doorway into the very presence of God.
And this is the breathtaking destination waiting for us at the end of that path. David wraps it all up with this glorious vision. In God's presence, there isn't just a little bit of joy, there is fullness of joy. And at his right hand, it's not temporary happiness, it's pleasures forevermore. That is the ultimate inheritance, the greatest treasure, all of it made possible by the resurrection.
So we end with a question for you to really think about. As we've seen in this incredible psalm, true, lasting, unshakable hope, it isn't found in our circumstances, and it's definitely not found in our own strength. It can only be found when it's anchored to someone who has already stared death in the face and won. Thanks so much for exploring Psalm 16 with me today.